All right, let's bring Kanika on.
So, Square Yards, like I was saying, is largest PropTech platform in India. We facilitate end-to-end home buying journey. We help people search home, transact home, finance home, and renovate homes. Last few years have been fantastic for us. We've grown at 50% growth rate. We ended last year at 2080 crores and 175 crores of EBITDA. We are one of the only consumer tech startups to operate at a trisection of growth, scale, and profitability currently in India.
And building this two-sided marketplace in a sector where both buyers, developers, I mean, this whole industry has worked in a certain way before. And how did you decide to build in this space, and have you faced resistance?
Yeah. The hard part, in fact, isn't even the technology, it's the behavior. So, if you see like both sides, whether it's buyers or developers, have had decades of habit and mutual suspicion. A marketplace only works if each side genuinely gets more than the other way gave them, right? So to build a buyer side trust, we had to build transparency tools like verified listing, data analytics, 3D walkthroughs. So when a buyer walks in, they are informed rather than dependent on what just a broker is telling them. And to win the developer side trust, we brought predictable large scale demand and a professional sales engine, and we became a channel that they could rely on, not just another listing site. And over time, this trust compounds. We then invested in services like after sales, mortgages, revenue renovation, which is where the most player drop off. So that's what worked for us.
What did it take to convince people they could actually buy or rent a home on the internet in the first place? It's the last thing you would buy off the internet.
Yes, correctly said. Property is such a high ticket, emotional, and infrequent purchase that people don't like just check out, right? A home. It's not like any other grocery or gadget you're buying. So online couldn't mean replacing the human. It had to mean like removing the blind spots before a human conversation, according to us. So our job was to make the digital experience richer than a site visit in some way, which we did through 3D walkthroughs, digital twin experience, real-time pricing, and fixing everything in one place, like putting all the information together. And the most important leg which we solved for a consumer was democratizing the actual transaction data and bringing transparency into real estate transaction, which was not there initially when we started.
And you guys were an NRI couple in Hong Kong, and you couldn't buy property online or couldn't find a convenient way to buy a property in India. So that's why you decided to start Square Yards. But now you yourself operate in many other markets. So how does a consumer and the market behavior vary across the different countries that you work in? Maybe give us a landscape of the different countries that you're operating right now.
Yeah. So we operate across India and Middle East. We've got a small presence in Australia and Canada, and cross-border business for us is like 20% right now of our transactions. So I've seen a lot of these market up close. And what's really different or what stand out in these mature markets like in Canada, Australia, UK versus India is that most of these market have clear titles. They have MIS style data, where very standardized financing procedures. The data is very, very transparent and very democratically available. Whereas in India, it doesn't exist, right? For fragmented, it was for decades, it was very fragmented, informal, opaque, and which most people saw it as a problem. For us, it was an entry point because we weren't entering an organized market. We were betting on the asymmetry which existed, right? So RERA came, they changed the rules, land records went digital. There was already a lot of formalization which was happening when we entered. And that was not just the problem, this was just tip of the iceberg. The real problem was the sheer scale which kept me up at the night when we started. India needs to build 50 million homes over the next 2 decades. And right now it builds under a million over a year. So there is a huge difference in the demand and the supply. And this gap is not a crisis. This gap is the story of the next generation of Indian real estate, where we see an opportunity. And this is the $1 billion opportunity on which Square Yards would leverage.
Kanika, we were just talking about the diaspora earlier, and they happen to be active home buyers in India. Can you share lessons from serving them as customers? We have different startups building different products and services for NRIs right now. I was talking with one founder, and he said, we're not really selling this product. What we're selling is peace of mind. So, talk to us about what it takes to serve diaspora with any product or service for that matter.
Yeah, so recently we started home interiors as a segment, and this was just an add-on service on top of the transactions which we were doing on the real estate side. And nobody talks about what happens when you buy a home, and everything just falls apart, right? So we were sitting on thousands of customers who had just bought a home. The transaction was done, but their stress wasn't. So they had to make it livable, right? And they had no idea where to start. With that thought, we built Interior Company, which is now a tech-led design and renovation platform. You can see your home in 3D before a single nail goes in. What you see is what you get. And no surprises on design, no surprises on budget. And the market responded faster to that than what we expected.
Interesting. But talking about some big developments in the company on the company front, you guys are going public, and in the process of going public, I think you filed for papers or preparing to file papers. What do you think will change as a company?
Yeah, going public is just another milestone in our journey, and I think a journey of building legacies. It does mean more accountability, in my view, more compliances, more transparency, but we're up for that challenge. We've been doing that for a few years now, so hoping everything turns out just fine, and wish us luck.
Wishing you all the best. I think life shifts from a private to a public one, where I think founders have to live quarter on quarter. We've had, founders on the show who've run IPO startups as well, IPO tech companies and such. And they say that not much changes, but on the outside, you're judged every quarter to quarter.
But Kanika, I don't know if now is going to be the time for doing it, but there's one problem I think only you guys can solve, which is for a lot of founders, getting a home loan becomes problematic because they're not drawing regular salary, etc. Again, just from the ecosystem remains an unsolved problem. I think we'd love to see you guys take a crack at solving it whenever the time is right.
Yes. So in fact, our home loan business is equal or probably doing better than our initial transaction. And that's just, again, goes on to say that when you solve a problem, you start solving it from the bottom, and then you realize there are more ends to it, more folds to it, and you go deeper and deeper into that problem. And eventually those parts bigger than the initial problem which you had thought.
I have a personal question. I think a lot of people on our YouTube chat live stream are asking about what does the average homeowner look like today? Like in terms of age, when do they decide to buy their home? Have you seen those changes across generations from Gen Zs, millennials, and boomers? Like how is that? Shift happening? The home buying age
journey of home ownership,
home ownership, and many other things like preferences and other things.
So India, I feel, is an urbanization growth story, like I previously said. Majority of the demand which comes and people who are buying home are first-time home buyers. So that would typically mean somebody who has just started job, done it for 4-5 years. So 30 to 40 year is an ideal age. Most of these people are coming to metros, who were living in tier 2, tier 3 cities, and they've come to these cities for jobs. So it is more of buildings and projects by developer high rises rather than standalone properties. And the problem at hand is that there are so many metros and so many urban cities which we already have. And if we have to move from a demand of 1 million a year to eventually 10 million a year, we would have to come up with bigger cities, newer hot centers. And that's where the government is doing and focusing a lot to come up and, bring up more cities where this urbanization and this development can happen.
In fact, speaking of Kanika, outside the tier 1, where is the greenfield development taking place right now on the map?
Yeah, so there is a lot of development in newer upcoming cities like Ahmedabad, like the whole Gujarat belt, and there is a lot happening in Karnataka, Hyderabad. So these are the newer centers which are developing, where we see there is a huge rise in young people who are buying properties, first time homeowners, and that's where the volume explosion is happening currently.
And how is real estate changing in the world of AI? Like you said that AI is of course driving a lot of changes in terms of technology and the experience for buyers. But can you highlight some specific changes that you are seeing at Square Yards and people who are transacting with you?
So AI isn't new to us. We've been building for this since like a lot of years since we started. We in fact did an acquisition of a company called PropVR, which was a trendsetter and industry leader 7-8 years ago. And we acquired that company. It does 3D visualization. It builds digital twins of properties, heavy data analytics across the platform. What's changed now is the speed with which everything is happening around us in the world. And recently we announced that today itself that we've built a captive AI app which went live, first native app which went live on ChatGPT. We're building a captive agentic AI, processing thousands of call records to standardize our product and service offering, improving efficiency, which humans miss at a scale. And on consumer side, like I said, our first native app, ChatGPT app, went for real estate live. This will make property search conversational instead of transactional. So you don't have to go through hundreds of listings to decide what you want. You ask like a friend that, hey, I'm looking for a property in Bangalore, which fits my budget. There is my office. This is the school my kid goes to. Can you suggest the ideal fit? And that app will give you suggestions. The hype is when AI becomes a marketing word to me, and reality is when it changes what your customer actually feel, and this is what we're trying to do.
And outside of AI, Kanika, I'm curious, like, what are some cultural expectations Indian home buyers have in terms of vastu or having a prayer room or like a mandir or something in home that just make this a very unique market to serve? Also, do you find similar expectations in other parts of the world as well?
Every country, every part of the world, and this comes more from my experience interacting and designing homes for people on the interior side, is very unique. How we approach a design home in a place like Dubai would be very different from how we would approach it in India. And that's what makes it interesting. That's what makes it very engaging for us as a company, as well as trying to solve real problems, trying to understand what a customer wants and give those customized, tailor-made solutions to everybody's requirement.
And where does Indian real estate go from here? I think a lot of people are debating on X about hype, bubble, overpriced, underpriced, some other new pockets coming up. So where do you think it goes for the residential real estate market of India from here?
India is a long-term urbanization story. There will always be, peaks. There will always be phases where the demand would seem like unjustified in terms of pricing. But at the bottom of it, from the long-term perspective, Indian market has to explode. It has to go in that direction because we have so many people who need homes. Like all these new people, when they migrate to city, they will need home. So what we need is the market to organize itself from a regulation, from structured financing, from digitization of records. I feel it's a one-way door. And the buyers, they are changing with it as well. They're going to expect search, transaction, financing, interiors, property management to feel like one seamless experience. It cannot be somebody just telling them that this data to buy and exit that journey. And that's what we are trying to build with Square Yards, a data and transaction backbone for the entire home ownership journey, which is AI native and obviously profitable. It cannot be a cash burning business. Unlike a lot of startups, there was a wave. From the very start, our goal was always to build a viable, profitable business. And the goal is simple: to own the entire home ownership journey, not just the transaction, not just the search. And every decision, every step, every market then stacks up.
And we should end this session with some lessons for founders. What do people usually misunderstand about building a company and the scale that you have?
I feel like being an entrepreneur feel very glamorous from outside. my advice to people would be that don't do it till you're absolutely passionate about it. It is not about valuation. It is not about funding rounds and instant gratification. It is about building and believing in a legacy which outlives you. And perseverance is a very overrated and very, very abused word, but I feel it is absolutely critical and the most important value system which any founder needs to succeed.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on our show, Kanika. This was special for us.
Yes, lovely talking
the
to
very
both of
best.
you.
Such a pleasure. Thank you.